Okay, so the next thing we're going to be going over is the parasympathetic nervous system, both its structure and its functions. And keep in mind that the parasympathetic nervous system is motor, and it is a part of the autonomic nervous system. So it is that rest and digest response. So it's affecting all of the involuntary effectors. All right, so I'd like to look at this image on page 543 of your textbook, and this is showing parasympathetic innervation. Okay, again, the red lines are showing preganglionic neurons, the black are showing postganglionic. What you should notice right away is whereas the sympathetic had all of its preganglionic neurons coming out of the thoracic and lumbar regions, the parasympathetic nervous system, its preganglionic neurons are coming out of either cranial nerves, okay, so that's what this N3 means, that cranial nerve 3, which is oculomotor, okay, cranial nerve 7, which is facial, 9, which is glossopharyngeal, 10, which is vagus, okay, or there are some that come out of the sacral regions, sacral nerve 2, 3, and 4, although I should point out that they're not using ventral roots, okay? They're using an alternate path out of the spinal cord. So another thing you should notice is that preganglionic fibers in the parasympathetic nervous system are quite long, and in some cases they're so long that they go almost entirely to the effector before they synapse. Now, these synapses are going to occur in two different locations. One is going to be terminal ganglia, and so an example of that would be these. They're near the effectors over here, but they're not embedded in the effectors. The other type of ganglia is going to be an intramural ganglia, and so that is going to be examples of some of these where you actually have synapsing where the ganglia are embedded in the effectors. Okay, and so that is some of the differences in the structures that you see for the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, you may notice, here's the heading, what does the parasympathetic nervous system do? It does all of these different things, and this is generally going to be the opposite of what the sympathetic nervous system does. Okay. Now, a couple of things that you should note. Here's this note, okay? Blood vessels and other structures of the skin and body wall are not innervated by the parasympathetic nervous system. The adrenal medulla and the skeletal muscles are not innervated by parasympathetic. So there are some that are only innervated by sympathetic. The other thing you should know is the lacrimal glands. These are the glands right here above your eyes. They produce tears. Okay, they are innervated by parasympathetic, but not sympathetic. Okay. Now, another thing to note is just like sympathetic nervous system, the preganglionic neurons release acetylcholine. But the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic is that postganglionic neurons also only release acetylcholine. So this is really the basis of how these different systems have their different effects, because the postganglionic neurons are going to be releasing different neurotransmitters that are going to be hitting different receptors on these effectors, and that's how one system can stimulate something while the other inhibits it, or vice versa. Okay.